The wind screamed across the frozen valley, carrying flakes of white dust that cut like tiny blades. The planet of Harith 9 was always cold, but tonight it felt merciless. Inside a small steel shelter buried halfway into the snow, a single light burned weakly. The man inside, Eli Grant, sat near the heater, holding a tin cup of recycled coffee. He stared at the flickering flame as if it could remind him what warmth used to feel like. It had been 93 days since the ceasefire. The human outpost was gone, the radio silent, and Eli believed he was the last of his unit still alive. The war between humans and the Vanyari race had ended, but the planet remained a graveyard of both species. Each night he listened to the wind whistle through wreckage outside, wondering if anyone else breathed under this endless sky. Then came the sound, soft but sharp against the storm. Bang, bang. He looked up. 2 knocks, clear and deliberate on the metal door. Eli frowned. The wind never knocked. He reached for his plasma pistol, the only thing that still gave him courage, and crept toward the door. Another knock followed. Slower this time, almost weak. He hesitated, breath fogging in the cold air. "Who's there?" he shouted, his voice echoing through the small shelter. No answer. Only the howl of the storm. For a long second, he stood frozen. Then the voice came, soft, trembling, almost breaking. "Human. Please." The sound was strange yet familiar, an alien accent, fragile like wind through glass. Eli's pulse jumped. A survivor? A Vanyari? He unlatched the door halfway, and the storm burst in, flinging snow and cold into his face. Through the blur he saw a figure collapse against the frame, a woman, her skin faintly silver, her hair tangled with ice. She wore torn armor plates and her lips were blue from the cold. "Help. Please," she whispered, and fell forward. Instinct took over. Eli caught her before she hit the floor. Her body was light, trembling violently. The faint glow of her veins shimmered under her skin, a trait of the Vanyari race. His first thought was danger. His second was pity. He kicked the door shut and dragged her to the heater. "Stay with me," he muttered, pulling off his thick coat and wrapping it around her. Her breathing came shallow, her eyes half open. They were bright blue, almost luminous, and full of confusion. "Don't touch me," she said weakly. "I'm not going to hurt you," Eli replied. "You'll freeze if I don't." She flinched as he placed a heat pack against her hands. For a moment, her alien skin shimmered like starlight, smooth, fragile, almost human. She tried to push his hands away, but she had no strength left. Minutes passed in silence. The heater hummed. Her trembling slowed. Slowly her eyes fluttered open again. "You are human," she said softly, studying his face. "Last time I checked," he answered dryly. "You're lucky I was awake." Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something else, but no words came. Eli gave her a sip of warm water and set the mug beside her. Outside, the storm roared louder. Inside, time slowed. The two of them sat there, enemies once, now only survivors. "What were you doing out there?" he asked after a while. She looked away. "Running." "From what?" She hesitated. "From them." Her voice cracked on the last word, and her hands clenched the blanket. Eli didn't ask more. He had seen too much of them, armored soldiers, drones, executions. Whatever she ran from, it wasn't peace. After a while, exhaustion pulled her eyelids down. Her breathing steadied and she slipped into sleep. Eli watched her for a long time, unsure what to feel. A few months ago, he might have shot her on sight. Now she looked small and fragile, like a lost child in the snow. He sat back near the heater, rubbing his sore hands. "What the hell am I doing?" he whispered to himself. But the answer came easily. He was doing what humans always did, helping, even when it made no sense. Hours passed. The storm outside began to fade. The flickering light cast long shadows across the room. The alien woman stirred, mumbling something in her language before switching to broken English. You shouldn't have helped me, she whispered. Eli looked over. Her eyes were half open, glowing faintly in the dim light. Why not? He asked quietly. Because now I owe you, she said. And my kind, we always repay our debts. He frowned. You don't owe me anything. She smiled weakly. That's not how it works for us. Her hand moved slightly as if to reach for him, then stopped midway. You gave me shelter, human, she murmured. And now, I must give you warmth. Before Eli could respond, she drifted back into sleep, her words hanging in the cold air like smoke. He stared at her, confused and uneasy. He didn't understand her meaning. Was it gratitude or something deeper? Outside, the first light of morning crept over the white horizon. Inside, the soldier and the alien lay in uneasy silence. Two lost souls tied by an act of kindness neither of them fully understood. Eli leaned back against the wall, eyes fixed on the sleeping stranger. Somewhere deep inside, a new feeling stirred. Something dangerous. Something human. He had saved her life, but he had no idea what kind of promise he had awakened. When Eli woke the next morning, the storm had finally died. Pale light filtered through the frosted window, painting the small shelter in shades of silver. The heater had gone silent, and so had the woman lying near it. For one tense moment, Eli thought she was dead. Then she stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing like morning ice. She looked at him, confused but calm. You're still here, Eli said, relief soft in his voice. She nodded, her lips dry and cracked. You kept me alive. He poured her a cup of warm water and handed it to her carefully. You were half frozen when I found you. Drink slow. She obeyed, sipping the water in silence. When she finished, she wrapped the blanket tighter around herself. Her silver skin shimmered faintly in the heater's weak light. Eli studied her for a moment. She looked nothing like the soldiers he had fought before. No armor, no weapons, no hate in her eyes. Just exhaustion. What's your name? He asked. Liara, she said quietly. Daughter of the House Vareth. He frowned. Royalty. Exile, she corrected softly. Royal blood means nothing when your people cast you out. The air between them grew heavy. Eli didn't ask what she had done to deserve exile. He knew too well that every war had its traitors and its victims. Liara's gaze wandered around the small shelter. The cracked metal walls, the stacks of empty ration boxes, the faded flag pinned above the cot. It all spoke of survival, not comfort. You live here? Alone? She asked. Eli nodded. No one else left to live with. She tilted her head slightly, studying him. Humans cannot stand silence, yet you stay. I got used to it, he said. Silence is better than ghosts. Liara didn't reply. Instead, she rose unsteadily to her feet. Her movements were graceful but weak, like a dancer recovering from a long illness. I should go, she murmured. I've already taken too much from you. Eli shook his head. You step outside, you'll freeze again in 10 minutes. You're staying until you're strong enough to walk. She looked at him with something between confusion and defiance. You don't understand, human. My kind, we cannot accept charity. When someone saves our life, a bond is formed. I must repay you. He sighed. You don't owe me anything, Liara. I helped you because it's what people do. Her expression hardened. Not for us. Debt is sacred. She moved toward the supply crate, searching through it without asking. Eli watched, surprised, as she found tools and began to repair the loose heater vent. Sparks flew as her glowing hands worked with strange precision. What are you doing? He asked. Repaying? She said simply. You gave me warmth. I'll keep your shelter alive. Eli wanted to protest, but she ignored him, focused entirely on her work. When she finally stopped, the heater roared back to life, blowing warm air through the small room again. She turned to him and said, Your machine is breathing again, like you made me breathe. Eli smiled faintly. Guess we're even now. But Liara didn't smile. She shook her head. Not yet. That night, as the temperature dropped again, Eli sat by the heater cleaning his weapon. Liara sat across from him, her eyes fixed on the flickering flame. He felt her gaze and said, "You don't have to stare, you know." She blinked as if caught in thought. "I was told humans hate being watched." "I don't hate it," he said, shrugging. "Just not used to it anymore." She studied him for a moment longer. "You are strange, Eli Grant." "Yeah, I've heard that before." For a few quiet minutes, only the sound of wind outside filled the air. Then Liara spoke again, her voice low and uncertain. "There is another way to repay a shelter debt," she said slowly. "The old way?" Eli glanced at her. "The old way?" She met his eyes. "A warmth bond. It means the one who was saved gives warmth to the savior, to prove gratitude." He frowned, unsure. "You mean like staying near the fire together?" Liara hesitated, her cheeks turning faintly blue, her species sign of embarrassment. "Closer," she said. "In my culture, warmth means life. To share it is sacred." Eli looked away, feeling awkward for the first time in months. "Yeah, that's not how humans do things." "I know," she said softly, "but my heart still follows my people's law." Silence stretched again. Eli focused on the weapon in his hands, pretending to ignore the strange tension that filled the room. When he finally looked up, Liara was standing beside his cot, her expression unreadable. "It's cold," she said simply. "Let me fulfill the bond." Eli stood too quickly. "Liara, no, you don't need to do that. You can repay me by staying alive, that's enough." She tilted her head. "You reject my honor?" "It's not rejection, it's mercy." Her eyes shimmered with hurt, then confusion. She turned away, wrapping her arms around herself. "Humans are complicated," she whispered. "We repay in warmth, you repay in silence." Eli didn't know what to say. The words stuck in his throat. As night fell, Liara lay on the floor beside the heater, her back to him. The shelter felt smaller than ever. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft, endless, and cold. Eli lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, her last words echoing in his mind. For 2 days, the storm kept them trapped inside the small shelter. The wind howled like an angry beast and the snow piled high against the steel walls. Eli spent his time fixing broken gear and checking the damaged radio that never caught a signal. Liara barely spoke. She only worked quietly, repairing things with her strange alien tools and eyes that seemed to hide a storm of their own. On the 3rd morning, when the storm finally eased, Eli stepped outside for the first time. The world was white and endless. Silence wrapped around him like a heavy blanket. Behind him, the door hissed open and Liara stepped out, her silver hair shining in the weak sunlight. She watched the horizon with careful eyes. "They will come," she said softly. Eli looked at her. "Who will?" "My people," she answered. "The patrols never stop searching. They will track my energy trace sooner or later." Her voice was calm, but there was fear behind it, a quiet, controlled fear. Eli felt it in the way her fingers trembled against the wind. "Then we'll move before they find us," he said. "There's an abandoned relay station 20 clicks east. We can hide there." Liara shook her head. "No, if they catch me again, they'll execute me, and you—" "They will make you disappear." Eli tried to joke. "Not the first time someone wanted me dead." But she didn't smile. She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly blue. "You still don't understand. You saved me, Eli Grant, and now I belong to you." He frowned. "Belong? That's not how this works. For humans, maybe," she said quietly. "But my kind follows the law of warmth. When one life is saved by another, a bond forms. The debt must be repaid or the saved one dies in dishonor." Her words hit him harder than the cold wind. "You're saying if you don't repay me, your people would kill you?" She nodded slowly. "If not them, my own mind will. We are raised with this law from birth. It is not only tradition, it is who we are." Eli sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "You don't have to follow that law anymore. You're free now." Liara's gaze turned sharp. "Freedom means nothing when your heart is chained by duty." She looked away, staring at the frozen horizon. "You gave me shelter, food, warmth. You gave me life. To repay that, I must give warmth in return. If I fail, my soul will never rest. Eli's chest tightened. He didn't believe in alien souls or spirit debts, but he could see she believed every word. You're not a prisoner here, Liara. You can choose your own way. She smiled sadly. You speak of choice as if it is simple. For me, choice is a shadow that disappears when light comes. They stood in silence for a long moment. The wind whispered through the snow, and above them the sun glowed pale and distant. Back inside the shelter, Liara moved quietly. She made new filters for the air vent and cleaned the melted snow from the floor. Eli watched her, still unsure how to break the wall of her belief. Finally, he said, "If you really want to repay me, help me fix the comms unit. That's all I ask." Liara looked up, studying his face. "If that is your command, I will obey." "It's not a command," he said quickly. "It's a request." She tilted her head, a faint smile touching her lips for the first time. "Humans make requests. My people make promises." They worked together for hours, their movements slow but steady. Eli explained the human tech, and Liara adjusted the power flow using her alien tools. For a brief moment, their hands touched, the warmth between them sudden and strange. Eli pulled his hand away, pretending to focus on a wire. But Liara noticed the way his ears flushed red. "Strange," she whispered. "Your kind fears touch, yet craves it," he tried to laugh. "Guess that makes us human." Night fell once more, wrapping the shelter in darkness. Eli sat near the heater, thinking about what she'd said. The law of warmth, the bond, the debt. He wanted to believe it was just superstition, but something deep inside told him it wasn't. Liara stood quietly near the door, staring out the small window. The snow had stopped, but the wind still moaned softly across the plains. "Eli," she said after a while, "if they find us, don't protect me. Promise me that." He looked at her sharply. "Not a chance." She turned, her glowing eyes catching the heater's light. "If you die for me, my debt doubles. I would have to follow you into death." He wanted to argue, but the words died in his throat. The red light blinked again through the small window, slow, steady, and hunting. Eli moved first, switching off the heater and dimming the power cells. The shelter fell into darkness, leaving only the faint blue glow of Liara's eyes. "Stay quiet," he whispered. She nodded, every muscle tense. Outside, the wind had stopped, and the silence was thick enough to hear the faint hum of an engine far above. Eli peeked through a crack in the wall. A sleek silver drone drifted across the snowy plain, scanning with a soft pulse of red light. It was shaped like a stingray, silent but deadly, used by the Vanyari patrols to track fugitives. "They found my trail," Liara whispered, her voice trembling. "They're here for me. Why?" "You said the war was over," Eli said, his tone sharp but controlled. "It is," she replied, "but some wars don't end just because leaders say so." She took a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly. "They're not soldiers from the main fleet. They're from House Vareth, my family." Eli turned toward her. "Your own people are hunting you?" "Yes," her eyes flickered with shame. "Because I broke our law and helped your kind," Eli frowned. "You mean during the war?" Liara nodded slowly. "I was a medic on the Eastern Front." "We were ordered to study human physiology, to test endurance, pain, and recovery. But the tests were cruel. They tortured prisoners." Her voice cracked. "One night I released 3 of them." "You were one," Eli froze. His chest tightened. He remembered it now. The cold steel tables, the blinding lights, the panic when the alarm sounded, and a shadowed figure guiding him through a back corridor. He had never known who saved him. "You," he whispered. "You were the one in the med bay." Liara's expression softened. "Yes, you called me Angel before you passed out." Eli laughed quietly, a rough, bitter sound. "Guess I wasn't wrong," but Liara didn't smile. "Because of that night, they branded me a traitor. I escaped before they could erase my mind. I've been running ever since." Eli leaned back, the weight of truth settling heavy on his shoulders. "So you saved me first," she nodded. "And now you've saved me. The circle is complete. That is why my people will never stop chasing me." Outside, the drone's hum grew louder. It hovered directly above the shelter. A sharp beep echoed, scanning lock. "They've got a signal," Eli muttered. "We need to move." He grabbed his rifle, a small pack of rations, and the comms unit. Liara followed him to the back hatch, her face pale but calm. "There's an old tunnel under the snowfield," she said. "It leads to a cargo station 3 kilometers north." Eli raised an eyebrow. "You know this planet better than I do." I was stationed here before your army arrived, she said. I built that tunnel. They climbed down into the icy passage below, the air sharp and biting. Above them, the sound of thrusters roared as something heavy landed on the surface. Dropship, Eli whispered. They're deploying troops. Liara's eyes flashed. We have minutes at most. They moved fast through the narrow tunnel, their breath visible in the cold air. The walls were covered in frost and strange blue markings, Vanyari symbols glowing faintly like veins of light. Eli brushed his hand across one. What do these mean? Names, Liara said softly. Of those who died here during the war, my people believed carving their names in the ice would keep their spirits close. Eli nodded. Humans do the same. We call them graves. When they reached the end of the tunnel, a faint metallic door stood before them. Liara placed her hand on a small panel, and the door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a dark chamber filled with old equipment, dust, and a broken transport sled. This was my lab, Liara said quietly. Before everything went wrong, Eli scanned the room. If we fix that sled, we can reach the ridge. After that, maybe the comms will pick up a human signal. But before he could move, Liara suddenly stopped him with a hand on his arm. Eli, there's something you must know. Her voice trembled. The experiments, they weren't just to test pain. They were to merge human DNA with ours, to make soldiers who could survive any world. Eli's eyes widened. Hybrid soldiers? Yes, she said, guilt heavy in her tone. And you were one of their test subjects. Eli stepped back, heart pounding. You're saying that's why you survived when others didn't, Liara whispered. Your blood carries a fragment of Vanyari energy. It's why the scanners found us so fast. They were tracking you as much as me. The realization hit him like ice water. So all this time, I wasn't just human. You are human, she said quickly, grabbing his hand. But part of you carries our light. That's why I had to save you back then, because you were never supposed to exist. Eli looked into her glowing eyes, a mix of anger and disbelief swirling inside him. And what now? You think your people will let either of us live? Liara's grip tightened. No, but I can stop them. How? By giving myself up. Eli shook his head. No way. You're not walking into their arms? She stepped closer, voice barely above a whisper. If they capture me, they'll stop hunting you. You can live free. I don't want freedom bought with your life, he said firmly. We'll run together or die together. For a moment, her expression softened, sorrowful but full of something deeper. You humans, she said quietly, always breaking the laws of the universe, even the ones written in blood. The tunnel shook with a thunderous roar. Snow and shards of ice rained down as the alien dropship landed directly above them. The air trembled with the hum of Vanyari engines, deep and cold like a heartbeat in metal. Eli pressed his back against the frozen wall, listening. The sound of footsteps echoed through the tunnel, slow, heavy, inhumanly steady. The hunters were here. Liara turned toward him, her face pale under the faint blue light of her glowing veins. They've brought enforcers, she whispered. They don't come to capture. They come to erase. Eli cocked his rifle, the soft click echoing like thunder in the narrow space. Then they'll have to erase me first. Liara looked at him with a mix of fear and something else, something unspoken. You don't understand. These aren't soldiers. They're executioners. They carry plasma that can burn through steel in seconds. Then we'll make seconds count, Eli said, eyes sharp. He quickly scanned the old lab for anything usable. There were broken crates, shattered tools, a rusted energy core in the corner still faintly glowing. Liara understood immediately. She tore off a panel from the core, her hands glowing as she adjusted the wires. If we overload it, she said, it will create an EMP blast, short but strong. It will blind their scanners for a minute. Eli nodded. 1 minute's all I need. The sound of boots grew louder. Shadows flickered across the far wall. Tall, armored figures with long, curved rifles and glowing helmets. Their leader spoke in the Vanyari tongue, a voice deep and cold. Liara of House Vareth, he called out, his voice echoing through the tunnel. Your crime is treason. Surrender now and we will end your suffering quickly. Liara's hands trembled as she connected the final wire. They mean it, she whispered. They don't take prisoners. Eli crouched beside her. Then we don't surrender. The moment she connected the last circuit, the light in the core flared bright white. Eli braced himself. The blast came like a heartbeat, a pulse of raw energy that ripped through the tunnel, shaking the walls and shattering the alien scanners above. The red glow outside flickered and died. Now, Liara shouted. Eli sprang from cover, rifle raised. The first alien soldier rounded the corner, tall, armored in silver with veins of glowing blue energy. Eli fired. The plasma bolt struck the soldier square in the chest, dropping him instantly. The tunnel filled with chaos. Flashes of light, bursts of sound, the sharp hiss of alien weapons cutting through air. Liara moved beside him, her hands glowing as she unleashed bursts of blue energy that slammed into the walls, sending debris and snow into the attacker's path. Eli ducked behind a fallen beam, firing in controlled bursts. 2 more soldiers fell. Then he felt a burning pain in his shoulder. A plasma bolt grazed him, searing his flesh. He gritted his teeth, refusing to fall. "Eli!" Liara shouted, rushing toward him. "You're hurt!" "Not dead yet," he said through clenched teeth. "Keep firing!" She knelt beside him, placing a glowing hand over his wound. Her light pulsed softly and the pain began to fade. He felt warmth spreading through his veins, strange, soothing, alive. "What are you doing?" he asked, gasping. "Sharing my warmth," she said. "My life for yours." "Don't," he growled. "You'll kill yourself," she smiled faintly. "Better to die with honor than live with debt." Before he could argue, another explosion rocked the tunnel. The alien commander stepped through the smoke, massive with armor that gleamed like liquid chrome and eyes that glowed red behind his helmet. "So," he said, voice calm and cruel, "the human lives, and you protect him. How far the daughter of Vareth has fallen." Liara stood tall, her voice shaking but defiant. "I fell the moment your kind forgot mercy." The commander raised his weapon. "Then you will fall again. Permanently." Before he could fire, Eli leapt forward, tackling Liara to the ground as a plasma bolt streaked past them, melting the wall where they had stood. He rolled, aimed, and fired back. The bolt hit the commander's chest, but his armor absorbed the impact like water. The alien leader laughed. "Human fire cannot harm me." Eli's pulse raced. "Good thing I'm not done yet." He turned to Liara. "That energy core, can you make it explode?" She hesitated. "It'll destroy everything in this tunnel, including us." Eli reloaded his weapon, eyes cold and determined. "Then we make sure it takes them with us." Liara met his gaze, and for the first time she saw not just a soldier, but something more. The same man who once called her an angel while bleeding out on a lab floor. She nodded. "Then let's burn the past." She ran to the core, her glowing hands moving quickly over the circuits. The commander saw her and shouted an order, but Eli opened fire, forcing the soldiers back. Plasma bolts hit the walls, lighting up the tunnel like a lightning storm. The core began to whine, high-pitched, unstable. Liara turned to Eli and whispered, "When it flashes red, run." But Eli didn't move. "Not without you," the commander charged, swinging a blade made of pure energy. Eli dodged barely in time, the blade slicing through his jacket. He fired point blank, and this time the bolt hit the commander's helmet, cracking it open. The alien roared, grabbing Eli by the throat and slamming him into the wall. Liara screamed, finishing the overload sequence. The core's light turned crimson. "Eli!" she cried. "Now!" Eli kicked the commander away and sprinted toward her. Together they dove into a side chamber just as the explosion tore through the tunnel. A wave of blinding light filled the space, shaking the ground and silencing every sound. Then came darkness. Eli's ears rang from the explosion. The air was filled with smoke and dust, and the once frozen tunnel now burned with flickering blue fire. He coughed, dragging himself forward, his eyes searching through the haze. "Liara," he shouted, voice hoarse. "Liara, answer me." A faint glow flickered in the rubble ahead. Soft, trembling light, the same color as her veins. He stumbled toward it, pushing aside twisted steel and chunks of ice until he found her. She was lying on her side, her skin dim, her breathing shallow. The blast had thrown her hard against the wall. Her eyes fluttered open when she felt his hand touch her face. "You're still here," she whispered weakly. "Yeah," Eli said, his throat tight. "You didn't think I'd leave you, did you?" She smiled faintly. "Humans never know when to stop." He tore a strip of cloth from his coat and pressed it to the burn on her arm. "You'll live," he muttered. "You hear me?" "You're not dying down here." But Liara's gaze moved past him toward the ceiling above. Through a crack in the stone, the faint hum of the dropship's engines could still be heard. Red light pulsed faintly through the gap. The hunters were not gone. "They're scanning again," she said quietly. "They won't stop until they find us. They'll burn the ice itself to reach me. Then we move," Eli said, helping her sit up. "You said there's a cargo exit, right?" She nodded slowly. "North end." "But Eli," her voice faltered. "There's something you don't understand." He looked at her, confused. She reached up and touched his cheek gently, her fingers trembling. "When I shared my warmth with you during the fight, I didn't just heal you. I linked us. My energy, my life, part of it is inside you now." Eli froze. "You mean you—" "Yes," she said softly. "Our lives are tied. If I die, the bond will take you too." He stared at her in disbelief. "You should have told me before." "There was no time," she said. "And I couldn't let you bleed out." He took a deep breath, anger and fear mixing in his chest. "So what now? We just wait until they find us? Let both of us die?" Liara's eyes darkened. "No, I will go to them." Eli grabbed her arm. "The hell you will." She didn't pull away. Her voice stayed calm, but her words were like a blade. "If I surrender, they'll take me. They'll stop hunting. You'll live." He shook his head. "You said our lives are linked. If they kill you, they won't kill me right away," she said. "They'll drain my energy first. It will take time. Enough for you to escape this planet." Eli's jaw clenched. "You're not trading your life for mine," she smiled sadly. "It's not a trade. It's a repayment." He turned away, slamming his fist against the cold wall. "You sound just like them. Like the ones who think honor matters more than life." Liara lowered her gaze. "It's all I've ever known." For a long moment, neither spoke. The fire from the broken energy core crackled softly, painting their faces in gold and blue. Then Eli crouched beside her again, his tone quiet but fierce. "Listen to me," he said. "You're not their soldier anymore. You're not their property or their law. You saved me because you chose to. And I'm saving you now because I choose to." Her lips trembled. "You would defy my world for me?" "In a heartbeat," he said. Outside, a low rumble shook the ground, the dropship shifting position, searching for heat signatures. Time was running out. Liara looked toward the sound, then back at him. "If we stay, we die together. If I go, at least one of us lives." "Then we die together," he said without hesitation. Her eyes widened, glimmering with emotion. "You humans? You burn so bright. Too bright for your own good." He smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why your kind calls us dangerous." Liara's fingers brushed his, her voice a whisper. "Then let us burn, but on our own terms." She pushed herself up slowly, pain visible in every movement. "There's one last thing I can do," she said. "A pulse from my core can disable their ship for a few minutes. But it will drain everything I have left." Eli's grip tightened around her wrist. "No, Liara, I'm not letting you." She pressed her hand to his chest, over his heart. "You already carry my warmth, Eli. Even if I fade, a piece of me will live inside you. That's enough." He shook his head violently. "It's not enough for me." She smiled, a small, peaceful smile that cut deeper than pain. "It will be." Then, before he could stop her, she walked to the broken energy core and knelt beside it. The faint light under her skin began to brighten, pulsing rhythmically. The air filled with a soft hum, like a heartbeat growing faster. Eli tried to pull her back, but the energy pushed him away gently, like a warm wind. "Liara!" he shouted. "Don't do this." She looked at him one last time, her voice tender and steady. "You gave me shelter, human. Let me give you freedom." A surge of blue light burst from her body, flooding the tunnel in brilliance. The walls shook, and the sound of the dropship engines above faltered, then died. When the light faded, she was lying still, her glow gone. The air smelled of ozone and snow. Eli fell to his knees beside her, shaking her shoulders. "Liara, wake up." Nothing. Outside, he heard silence for the first time in days. No engines, no hunters, only wind. He looked down at her peaceful face, and something inside him broke. "You didn't owe me this," he whispered. "You never did." Then faintly, just barely, her lips moved. "Humans," she breathed. always turning warmth into love. Her hand slipped from his, but her words lingered like fire in the cold. The storm outside had gone silent, leaving only the whisper of falling snow. The world above the shattered tunnel was still, bathed in pale light from a weak alien sun. Beneath it, in the ruins of the shelter, Eli sat in the dim glow of fading embers, his body trembling, his heart heavy with grief and disbelief. Liara lay motionless beside him, her silver hair tangled with frost, her once luminous veins now dull and gray. He could still feel faint warmth radiating from her skin, like the final breath of a dying star. For a long time, Eli didn't move. His hands were bruised, his shoulder burned, and his lungs ached from smoke. But none of that mattered. All that mattered was the quiet figure who had given up everything for him. "You didn't have to do this," he whispered. "You could have run. We could have both lived." But deep inside, he knew she had chosen this path. It wasn't about debt or law anymore. It was love, quiet, wordless love from a being who once saw humans only as enemies. He touched her face gently, brushing away the frost. "You gave me warmth," he said softly. "Now I'll give you peace." Then something strange happened. The faint blue glow on her skin flickered, once, twice, then steadied. Eli froze, staring. Her chest rose slightly, shallow but real. "Liara?" he whispered, leaning close. Her eyelids fluttered, and she exhaled a weak breath. "Still, stubborn," she murmured faintly, her voice fragile as air. Eli laughed, a choked, broken laugh. "You just don't know how to quit, do you?" She opened her eyes halfway, her lips curving in a ghost of a smile. "I could say the same to you." He held her hand carefully, feeling the faint pulse of her warmth. "You stopped their ship. You saved both of us." Liara's gaze drifted upward. "The bond kept me alive. When I gave you my warmth, it tied our hearts. Your will pulled me back." Eli shook his head slowly. "Guess we're both too stubborn to die." Above them, through the cracked ceiling, the sound of metal scraping echoed faintly. He looked up and saw movement, a shadow against the light. For a second, panic flashed through him, but then he recognized the shape. Not alien, but human. A rescue drone. It was small, battered, but unmistakably human tech. One of the old survey units that still scanned abandoned war zones. Eli's distress beacon, damaged for months, must have finally activated during the blast. He grabbed Liara's hand tighter. "We're getting out of here, you hear me? We're going home." Her eyes closed briefly. "Your home, not mine." He frowned. "Then we'll find a new one. For both of us." Liara smiled faintly, her voice fading like wind. "Your kind always finds hope in ashes." Eli wrapped her in his jacket and pulled her closer as he climbed toward the surface. The tunnel was half collapsed, but he moved slowly, carefully, never letting her go. Every breath burned in his chest, every step felt endless. But ahead, light began to appear. When he finally broke through to the surface, the sun hit his face like fire after years of darkness. The sky was wide and blue-gray, streaked with smoke from the downed alien ship. The rescue drone hovered closer, scanning them. "Human survivor detected," it said in a mechanical voice. "Vitals unstable. Evacuation requested." Eli looked down at Liara. Her eyes were open now, barely, watching the sky with wonder. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Your sun. So warm." He smiled faintly. "You should see it from home." She blinked slowly, her voice soft. "Home," she repeated, as if tasting the word for the first time. The drone's signal light blinked green. "Evacuation incoming, estimated time 3 minutes." Eli sighed with relief, but Liara's hand suddenly tightened weakly around his. He looked down and saw her trembling. "Eli," she whispered, "if I go with you, they will hunt us both. The bond is visible. They can trace it through energy." "Then let them come," he said fiercely. "They'll learn what happens when they try to take what's mine." Liara's eyes softened. You've already changed me, human. You made me believe warmth could be more than duty. Promise me one thing. Anything. Don't let this world turn your heart cold. He swallowed hard. Never. Her hand relaxed in his, her glow dimming again. But this time there was peace in her expression, not pain. The sky roared as the human rescue ship descended through the clouds, its thrusters melting the snow around them. Eli lifted his head, squinting against the bright light. Hold on, he whispered. You're almost home. As the ship's hatch opened and med drones hurried out, Eli looked once more at the broken alien vessel lying silent in the snow, a reminder of everything lost and everything found. He whispered, almost to himself, She saved me twice. Maybe that's what it means to be human, or something better. The med drone's lights flashed as it scanned Liara, emitting a gentle hum. Unknown life form detected. Vital signs minimal, but recoverable. Eli exhaled shakily, hope flickering in his chest like a spark in the dark. Then save her, he said. Do whatever it takes. As they lifted off, the planet grew smaller beneath them, a field of ice and ruins fading into blue. Liara rested against his shoulder, her faint glow returning slowly with every heartbeat he shared with her. When the stars finally filled the window, she whispered one last line, her voice barely there. Human, you gave me shelter. I gave you warmth, but together. She paused, smiling faintly. We made fire. Eli looked at her, his heart aching and full. Yeah, he said softly. We did. The ship drifted toward the horizon, two lights glowing beside each other, one human, one alien, both alive, both changed.